brother that signed for the daughter to do the tape has the rights to the names and the likeness of my black children. That's who we're dealing with. And I bet not one celebrity say.
I don't have no lawyers. I just got the truth. The truth is all I need. Like, I don't have lawyers. Like, y'all, they keep threatening me because they keep paying me money and they think that they can just pay me. Well, here go 10 more million. Oh, here go 20 million. Shut the and do what we say, nigga. Like, that's the angle, bro.
Everything was always under control. Every headline, every scandal, every perfectly timed reveal. But what happens when the master of the narrative loses control of the story itself? For decades, Kris Jenner didn't just build a brand. She engineered an empire so precise, so calculated, that it blurred the line between reality and performance. Every move looked accidental, but nothing ever was. The rise of the Kardashian dynasty wasn't luck, it was strategy. Ruthless, surgical, undeniable strategy. And now, the people who once stood closest to that power are stepping forward, one by one, peeling back layers that were never meant to be touched. Because suddenly, the whispers aren't staying whispers anymore. They're turning into accusations. And those accusations are no longer coming from outsiders, they're coming from insiders. Ray J. Kanye West, a former Yeezy employee, names that once floated around the Kardashian orbit are now circling back with something heavier, claims that don't just question fame, they question the foundation of how that fame was built. And at the center of it all, one woman, Kris Jenner. The same Kris who has denied for nearly 2 decades any involvement in the most controversial launchpad of the Kardashian empire, Kim Kardashian's tape. The same Kris who has always maintained the image of a protective mother caught in a scandal she didn't create. But now, a lawyer is threatening to bring in a witness, not gossip, not speculation, a witness under oath. Someone who could allegedly confirm that the tape wasn't a tragedy. It was a plan. And just when that alone should have been enough to shake the narrative, something darker starts creeping in from the shadows. Because the internet, relentless, obsessive, unforgiving, has begun connecting dots tied to something far more disturbing. The Epstein Files. The timing? Too perfect. The connections? Too uncomfortable. And suddenly the story isn't just about a tape anymore. It's about networks, influence, and whispers of associations that were never supposed to intersect. Kris Jenner has responded, of course. Firm, controlled, strategic, absolutely false, deeply offensive. The words are polished, familiar, practiced. But the noise around her isn't fading this time. It's getting louder. Because for the first time in decades, the one thing Kris Jenner perfected, her image, is no longer fully in her hands. And the question hanging in the air isn't just what happened, it's what was hidden and who is finally ready to expose it.
No one from the family has taken any responsibility for my hospital visit, but if we were to go online, that's 50% of what people say at least. Or maybe, am I lying?
It doesn't matter.
Am I lying? It do matter! It does matter! It does matter!
In 1 hour, I'm having them send everything I got. We going through receipts tonight, Kris. We going through receipts tonight, Kim. Everything that I got, I'm gonna let them see.
Now enter Kanye West, a figure so controversial that his words are often dismissed before they're even processed. For years, his accusations have been labeled as erratic, emotional, unstable, easy to ignore, convenient to discredit. But what happens when those same accusations start appearing in legal filings, not tweets, not interviews, court documents? A former Yeezy employee, hidden behind the name John Doe, steps forward with a lawsuit that doesn't just echo Kanye's claims, it expands them. According to the filing, Kanye didn't just rant, he funded an investigation, a full investigation, structured, documented, organized, into the Kardashian family. Why? Because he believed with absolute certainty that something wasn't right, that something darker existed beneath the surface of the empire everyone celebrated. And then came the moment that shook even his own circle. March, last year, Kanye goes public. Not subtly, not cautiously. He says he is 100% convinced his children were being exposed to something he couldn't ignore. A ring, a word that doesn't just raise eyebrows, it detonates them. And his reaction? He cuts access. Kris Jenner out. Corey Gamble out. No contact with his children. In any other family, this would be seen as extreme, unthinkable. But in this world, it became just another headline, another story to scroll past, another moment to dismiss. But here's the problem. What if it wasn't just another moment? What if it was a warning? Because when multiple voices, controversial, yes, start aligning on the same narrative, it stops being easy to ignore. It becomes a pattern, and patterns are dangerous.
Corey is a plant. Corey was, Puff Daddy, Nanny, Manny. You get what I'm saying? Then he was with Justin Bieber when Justin Bieber got in trouble. And then when Bruce did a transition to Caitlyn, he popped up. Now he run around like he Kylie Daddy. But he's there for the agenda and controlling the power of that family.
And then comes Ray J, the name that can never be separated from the origin story of the Kardashian empire. For years, he stayed quiet, watched from the sidelines as the narrative was written without him, as the tape became legend and the legend became billions. But silence has a breaking point. And now he's talking, not casually, not vaguely, directly, explosively. He's calling Kris Jenner the mastermind, not an accomplice, not a bystander, the architect. And it doesn't stop there. Because Ray J isn't just speaking publicly, he's claiming involvement with federal authorities, a RICO case, words that carry weight, words that shift a story from gossip into something far more serious. And then comes the line that hits like a shockwave. Kris Jenner is worse than Diddy. That's not a comparison made lightly. That's a statement meant to provoke, to disrupt, to force attention. And it worked, because suddenly the narrative isn't stable anymore. It's cracking.
The federal RICO I'm about to drop on Kris and Kim is about to be crazy. I'm talking about, I'm on the news every day like, yeah. Meaning like I'm gonna say a lot of
Got a little bounce, you walk with
If anybody know Kim and cool with Kim, they need to tell her now. The rain is coming. The feds is coming.
Hey, right.
The feds is coming. It's nothing I can do about it. It's worse than Diddy.
Let's go back. A private moment. A vacation in Cabo San Lucas. A tape that was never meant to be public. Or was it? 3 years later, it explodes across the world. And just like that, everything changes. A reality show, a brand, an empire. The official story has always been simple. Kim was a victim. The tape was leaked. Kris was outraged. A mother protecting her daughter. That's the version everyone accepted. But Ray J is now telling a completely different story. One that flips the entire narrative upside down. According to court documents obtained by TMZ, he claims the release wasn't accidental. It was orchestrated, negotiated, packaged. A deal allegedly worth $6 million. An agreement between Kim, Kris, and a production team. In exchange, silence. No mention of the tape on the show. No reopening the story. No further exploitation. But according to Ray J, that agreement was broken. The tape became a storyline, a recurring reference, a marketing tool. The very thing that was supposed to disappear became the foundation of everything. Kim has denied it, under oath, calling it a lie. Kris has denied it, under oath, calling it offensive, harmful. And legally, those denials matter. But perception? That's a different battlefield. Because once a story like this is planted, it doesn't disappear. It spreads, it evolves, it lingers. And now, nearly 2 decades later, the question that never truly died is back again. Louder, sharper, more dangerous than ever. Was it really a leak? Or was it the most calculated launch in celebrity history? And if it was, what else was calculated? Insert clip from 0711 to 0746. And just when it feels like the story has reached its breaking point, it plunges even deeper into something far more chaotic, far more disturbing, and far more impossible to ignore. Because now the voices aren't just questioning strategy, they're questioning morality. You can hear it in the tone, in the frustration, in the anger that spills out without hesitation. Accusations that don't dance around the edges anymore. They go straight for the center. Direct claims that boundaries were crossed, that lines were erased, that things happened behind closed doors that were never meant to be exposed. The words are raw, messy, unfiltered, and whether you believe them or not, they hit. Because they paint a picture that feels darker than anything the Kardashian narrative has ever allowed. A picture where power isn't just used, it's leveraged. Where influence isn't just built, it's weaponized. And where people inside the system start realizing that silence isn't protecting them anymore. Then suddenly, the conversation expands. It's no longer just about one tape, or one accusation, or one family. It starts pulling in names, associations, patterns, connections that feel too uncomfortable to ignore. Because now the whispers are linking the Kardashian empire to circles that have already been under global scrutiny. Names like Balenciaga, figures like Diddy, controversies that have already shaken public trust. Whether those connections are real, exaggerated, or misunderstood doesn't matter in this moment. What matters is perception. And perception is shifting. Because once the audience starts connecting dots, even loosely, the story begins to take on a life of its own. And then comes a detail that feels almost too cinematic to be real. November 8th, 2025. Kris Jenner's 71st birthday. The location? A $165 million Beverly Hills mansion owned by Jeff Bezos. The guest list? A constellation of power, billionaires, celebrities, cultural icons. The kind of gathering that doesn't just represent success, it represents access, influence, control. But here's where it gets uncomfortable, because that celebration didn't happen in isolation. It happened at the exact same moment something else was unfolding quietly in the background. The Epstein Files Transparency Act, a law forcing the release of documents that powerful people had fought for years to keep hidden. Files tied to one of the most disturbing networks ever exposed. And the timing? It collides. A party filled with the elite, while documents about elite networks begin surfacing. At the same time that Ray J claims cooperation with federal authorities. At the same time accusations are gaining traction. At the same time scrutiny around Kris Jenner is intensifying. Coincidence? Maybe. But when too many moments align perfectly, people start asking questions. And questions are dangerous. Because here's the reality. Kris Jenner has spent decades mastering one thing better than anyone else in Hollywood. Control. Control of narrative. Control of perception. Control of damage. Every scandal that ever touched the Kardashian name was reshaped, reframed, monetized, and redirected. But this isn't a storyline she created. This isn't a scandal she can package, because the Epstein files, whether they implicate anyone or not, exist outside her influence. They aren't controlled by PR teams. They aren't softened by reality shows. They aren't edited for public consumption. And that alone changes everything. Because for the first time, the narrative isn't hers to manage. And then, just when it feels like the puzzle couldn't get any more complicated, another piece slides into place. The church. In 2008, Kris Jenner founded what is now known as the California Community Church. On paper, a place of worship, a spiritual center, a charitable organization. But critics have been circling it for years, quietly questioning what it really is. Because membership reportedly comes with a price tag, $1,000 a month, plus 10% of income. And when you combine that with the tax benefits tied to charitable donations, a different picture starts forming. One where the church isn't just about faith, but about structure, money flow, financial strategy. The lead pastor, a man with a controversial past, accusations of infidelity, questions about his qualifications, and yet he stands as the spiritual guide for one of the most powerful families in the world. The church itself, previously tied to a tax issue involving unpaid payroll taxes before quietly rebranding. Name changed, structure intact, money still moving. And when you layer this onto everything else, the tape allegations, the lawsuits, the claims of investigations, the Epstein timing, the birthday gathering, it stops feeling like isolated incidents. It starts feeling like a system, a network of decisions, moves, and strategies that all connect back to one central force. Kris Jenner. Now let's be clear, none of these claims have been proven in court. Not the tape orchestration, not the alleged connections, not the accusations from Kanye, not the statements from Ray J. Legally, the Kardashian family stands where they always have, unconvicted, protected by the principle of innocence. And both Kim and Kris have denied everything under oath, strongly, consistently, without hesitation. But here's the problem. Truth isn't always decided in courtrooms. Sometimes it's shaped in the court of public perception. And right now, that court is restless because people are asking questions that don't have clean answers. Why did Kanye fund an investigation? Why is Ray J speaking now after years of silence? Why are multiple narratives suddenly converging at the same time? Why did all of this escalate exactly as the Epstein documents began surfacing? And maybe the biggest question of all, why does it feel like something is just slightly off, not proven, not confirmed, but not entirely dismissible either? Because when stories overlap, when timelines collide, when voices from inside and outside start echoing similar suspicions, it creates something powerful. Doubt. And doubt spreads faster than any headline Kris Jenner has ever controlled. So now, the empire that was built on precision storytelling is facing something it was never designed to handle: uncontrolled narrative, unpredictable voices, unanswered questions. And the deeper you look, the harder it becomes to tell where the performance ends and where reality begins. So what is this really? A coordinated attack on one of the most powerful families in entertainment? Or the slow, messy unraveling of something that was always more complicated than it appeared? Because one thing is certain, the story isn't over. The files are still being released. The investigations, if they exist, are still unfolding. The voices are still speaking. And somewhere between the denials, the accusations, and the perfectly timed moments, the truth is sitting, waiting. And sooner or later, it always finds its way out.